Hey everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Saga. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr. How are you, Hannah?
I'm doing well, and how are you?
Doing good, doing good. So we are here talking about we're anticipating the next chapter in the Jedi Fallen Order series, which comes out this week. Jedi Fallen Order Survivor. Yeah, the second video game coming out. You have read the novel that goes in between,
Yes.
Battle Scars. I'm actually in the middle of it right now. So that's why we're not talking about that today. Instead, we're actually going to talk about a book that came out prior to the first game's release, and we haven't covered it yet on this show. So we're going to talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple. This book right here. It is a 5-issue miniseries book that came out, like I said, before the game. And it was written by Matthew Rosenberg, Marvel Comic. Like I said, released September 4th, 2019. The game dropped, I think, in November of that year. So this came out a couple months before, and it tells the prequel story before the game. Now, I say prequel loosely because it doesn't introduce Cal Kestis, obviously, who is the main character of the video game Jedi Fallen Order. So, but we are introduced to a couple Jedis in this. There's 2 timelines that are going on. One about roughly 41 BBY, and then one about 14 BBY, which is the timeline that takes place with the game. So, that being said, 5 issues, Hannah, what were your thoughts about this? Now, I know you're very into the game, a very big fan of the game in this series. So, what do you think about this comic?
I thought it was fun. I thought it was kind of cool to learn a little more about Cere. And it's always interesting to see how the Jedi navigate these political situations. We see a lot of it in the Clone Wars, but the different Jedi pairings that we see and how they each deal with it differently is really cool. I think it's also great that we get to see Cere as a Padawan before she becomes a Jedi Knight.
Yes.
And we see how impulsive she is, which makes her such a great master for Cal. But overall, even though it still was jam-packed with action, twists, turns, things I did not see coming, and we go back and forth between the current time, which is during the Jedi Fallen Order game, and we see the third sister trying to find the holocron that has all the records of the Force-sensitive children out there, or people. It goes back into like a flashback, because the temple she explores is a temple that Cere accidentally discovered while she was trying to go on a politician or Republic Jedi peace council thing with her master.
Right.
And even with all of that, I don't know if this was necessary, even though it was a fun read. That's kind of my takeaway from it. Yeah. I think it left a few more questions than answered. But that's my immediate takeaway and quick synopsis of what the whole comic is about. And it's like also about Cere trying to figure out what it means to be a Jedi. What does it mean to be keeping the peace? What does justice really mean in the eyes of the Jedi? A lot of interesting questions that we see a bunch of Jedi struggle with. So,
right.
What about you? What were your first takeaways?
Well, I read this back a few years ago when it first came out, and I haven't since. So obviously the game coming out now, I wanted to do the show and talk about it just to get everybody kind of prepared for the game release. But I gotta say, I didn't remember it that well, and I think I know why, because it really didn't, to me, it didn't really tie into the game as much as I anticipated. because I believe I actually played the game first before I actually read it. So because it came out, it came out in issues individually, and I usually don't read it until the trade comes out. So the trade came out, I think, after the game, and when I got it, I eventually read it. So when I read it at that point, it really didn't set anything up for the game, It introduced, like you said, Cere's backstory and how she became a Jedi Knight. Cordova, who is the Jedi Master that Cal seeks or follows the direction of through a bunch of hollow messages. But when you read this book, there's a lot going on. Like you said, there's a lot of action. There's a couple groups going at each other. They're basically fighting over this temple, which has some significance to the game, because you discover that's one of the temples I believe the Zephyro created, which you find out in the game who they are and the temples that they've built throughout the galaxy. So there's that tie-in a sense. But there is no, like I said, no Cal Kestis. There's no, what's their ship called? The Mantis?
Yeah.
There's no Mantis, So it is a story about this master and this Padawan. And so in that sense, you get a good backstory, like you said, of Cere and how she is, her personality a little bit more. But I don't remember, maybe you remember, when you play the game, I believe you don't find out she's a Jedi until later in the game, right?
Yes. Like, there's a huge suspicion that she must be at least somewhat Force sensitive.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I'll train you in the Force, and you're like, how?
Yeah.
So it's, if I remember correctly, it's heavily hinted that she was a Jedi, but yeah, I don't think that's revealed until later on.
So if you read this before the game, you would actually be somewhat spoiled a little bit about who she is. Because I think I remember that. Because I remember playing the game, being a little bit surprised that she ended up being a Jedi, and then of course, big surprise. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler for people that haven't played the game, but big surprise that how she's tied to the third sister in this game, right? So you obviously don't get any of the sense of that in this book, any kind of connection there, but because the time frame that takes place during the game, like you said, is literally the third sister kind of searching for this holocron and trying to track down Cere and Cal.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I think it's a nice backstory for these Jedi. It does do something that I've always thought would be a good idea, which is following more masters and apprentices during the time of the Jedi and going on these missions. I mean, they're exciting reads and exciting adventures. I mean, if this was a standalone book with Jedi that we had just met, I'd like it a lot. I mean, I like it. But, the fact that this is characters that are supposed to be connected to this game is, again, I think that's kind of the bridge. So you can kind of rate it yourself in a sense of saying, is it needed or is it not needed? I don't know.
I almost wonder if it would have done better as a book. Like a short, not a short story, but also not a novel. Because I
like a junior novel then or something?
A junior novel, maybe.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like, because we get Cere in front of the Jedi Council, and we get a conversation like debating, what is right in the eyes of the Jedi, what is not. How do you justify your actions for what you did? Was it right? Was it wrong? And I think it would have been so interesting to hear her inner thoughts about that. And I think it would have been very, very cool to see that turmoil. And like, honestly, that's why I think the Revenge of the Sith novelization is one of the best movie novelizations out there, because you get that internal dialogue with Anakin. So I think it it would be so cool to explore that doubt and to explore that uncertainty of everything, because I think we can all agree that the council was not the best council. They probably were wrong about several things with regards to the way of the Jedi. And we even see that in books like The Dark Disciple. So I just think if we explored that a little bit more, it would have been really, 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 really cool, because then that would have built up to the way Cere is so wise, but also so compassionate. And I think we see, which we see a lot in the novel, actually, Battle Scars. We see a lot of her compassionate side. And I mean, you see that in this comic book, so that sets it up perfectly. I don't know. Like, what do you think? Do you think it would have been better if it was just like a junior novel?
Yeah, I think so. It could have, or I think a novel or young adult or junior. I definitely think that if it was one of those, it would have been able to add a little more detail to, and maybe more connection. Like, for example, you probably couldn't do it because you didn't have enough time in these books, but just hinting maybe at Cordova, like what something about the holocron. Maybe he's talking about figuring out, try to find a place to hide it. I don't know. Or, I mean, obviously he probably doesn't think about hiding it there. And it fails me because I haven't played the game in a while either. But at what point, I wonder, do you remember in the game, does it ever explain at one point, when he decides that he needed to hide the holocron? I mean, had to have been before Order 66, I'm assuming.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
I can't remember if that was said in the game, and if so, what was said. I don't remember that at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I think the image of the big twist of the end of the game kind of overruled the majority.
Yeah,
the majority of my memory of that game.
Yeah, because my head was so wrapped into solving all the puzzles and everything.
Yeah,
you kind of get lost in the story a little bit unless you play it over and over. And unfortunately, I've only played it one all the way through once.
Same.
Yeah, so I need to go back and do it again, but probably not going to, because when we get back from our work trip, I'm going to dive right into the second game and do that.
Yeah.
So by doing that, I think doing a different type of book, I think would have been able to add more information to it, to maybe do a connection to it. Very similar to probably what they did with Battle Scars. I mean, and you know that I'm learning more. I think I'm about 6 or 7 chapters in right now, and I can already sense that you're getting to know these characters more. And, they're talking about this mission that they're about to do. So I'm sure I'll learn more as I go. But, that would have, I feel like this will, and maybe you can mention it without giving anything away, but do you feel like Battle Scars, I don't know, obviously we don't know the storyline for the second game, but do you feel like it is leading into that game at all? Or do you think it's going to have a connection to it like that?
Oh, there will definitely be some connections.
Oh, okay.
No doubt. There will be something. If you play the game, there will be a couple of things that make you go, wait, what happened?
Or where is that from?
Yeah, or why is it like that?
Oh, okay.
So it's not major story moments. I can totally see how this could lead into something. Yeah, I'm really trying not to spoil it.
Yeah, we'll do that book soon.
I will say this. If the game goes in the direction I think it's going, then yes, the book sets up this game. But if the game goes in a different direction, then the book sets up another plot that might be explored at a future time.
A third game, probably, which is what they're talking about. Well, we'll answer it when we do Battle Scars in one of the next is the next Beyond the Sagas. But I feel like I can safely say, without even knowing, that Battle Scars probably ties more into the games than this comic does.
Oh, absolutely, games. 1,000,000%.
Right. So maybe that would have helped if it was a different book, But I think 2019, yeah. I mean, they were well into the books by then, so they could have. I guess part of it too might have been they didn't know. I mean, I don't think they knew fully. They didn't know fully how well received the game was going to be, so maybe they didn't want to do a big story, a prequel story. It makes sense, But now it's very popular. The storylines are very, very deep. I mean, we are, Cal, I guess besides Ahsoka, I don't know. We haven't gotten this. He's got a rich Jedi story going.
I secretly hope that Cal appears in Ahsoka, in Skeleton Crew, in the rumored Mandalorian season 4.
Right.
I really, really, really hope we see him outside of the video games and books. That would be insane. Also, like, come on. Who doesn't want to see a cute little BB-8? Or BD-8?
BD-1. BD-1. Yes.
Who doesn't want to see a cute little BD-1?
I know. And I think Cal, there has been rumors that, I think his name is Monahan.
The actual actor who played Cal in the games?
Yeah, I can't remember his first name. But he has been rumored to be in talks about doing something live action now.
I know
when and how that happens, I don't know. But
I'm kind of trying to not get my hopes up.
Agreed. Okay, so significance. I guess we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but significance of this story.
I feel like
to the saga.
More. I feel like there could be more, and I feel like there's a lot hidden. That I think. Here's the thing. I think if we played Jedi Fallen Order multiple times, there might have been more we would have picked up in the comic.
Probably.
But even if that's the case, that kind of shows it's more of an Easter egg thing than it is a actual story connector.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's one of them things where if you are just a comic book reader and you want to consume a lot of Star Wars, then it's worth picking up and reading.
Oh, it's a fun read.
Yeah.
It's a fun read.
But if you're trying to just expand on the Fallen Order series and you think you haven't played the game yet and you think you need to read this before, not particularly.
No.
So what's your rating?
At 3, middle of the road.
3 out of 5?
3 out of 5, definitely better than Princess and the Scoundrel in my opinion, but very middle of the road.
I would say, yeah, I'll probably say 3 as well. I'm middle of the road too. It was good, but not great.
It was a great story,
yes,
but I don't know why it was needed.
And the artwork, which was done by Paleo Villanelli. Sorry if I butchered that. But I will say the artwork's fantastic.
Stunning.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful in here.
If anything, just read it so you can marvel at the craftsmanship of it.
Yeah, I really like that style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is.
Like I said, Matthew Rosenberg is the writer, so go get that. And get ready for Jedi Fallen Order Survivor coming out Friday. Is that April 28th? Yeah, April 28th.
Yeah.
So just in a couple more days. And we will be back. So if you're listening to this before that game comes out, we'll talk about the game as much as we can, however far we're into it. Next week on Inside the Force, more than likely, Hannah and I are taking a break this week because we're both actually on location for work. So we're out of the state. So we will be back next week. So leave just let us know if you get into the game, because that's what we're going to talk about a little bit next week. So you are going to be able to play the game when you get back? Yeah.
I'm going to try. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into it this weekend. I do have some things going on, but nighttime when everybody goes to bed, I'll just stay up and play. All right. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us on YouTube here. For more, hit that subscribe button. And if you want the podcast as well, Inside the Force every week, come here on YouTube or on all the podcast feeds. Thank you much, of course, to our patrons.
Yes.
And keep going to InsideTheForce.com if you want to catch up on us and follow us there. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Dave.
Next time I see you, I'll see you in New York.
See you in NYC.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. Take care. May the Force be with you.